The circus came to D.C. today. Democrats waltzed into work wearing costumes.
Congressman, can you explain what you're wearing?
I just came to thank James Comer for taking all of our intelligence and using it in the committee. Maybe he can come see the technology in our grocery stores. Thank you.
Congressman, do you think his behavior is kind of immature?
Democrats slapping on Putin masks. There must be a Hunter Biden hearing. Yeah, there was, except Hunter didn't show. After pretending he wanted to testify under the bright lights, Hunter got stage fright. But his former business partners didn't.
Should I allow Hunter to give his opening statement first?
Well, doesn't appear Mr. Biden showed up for his public hearing, so we'll recognize you, Mr. Bobulinski.
Tony Bobulinski's been waiting for this moment for 4 years. He came out swinging in his opening statement, leaving the Democrats rattled.
Rep. Dan Goldman and Jamie Raskin, both lawyers, and Mr. Goldman, a former prosecutor with the SDNY from New York, will continue to lie today in this hearing and then go straight to the media to tell more lies. Hunter Biden's defense attorney, Abby Lowell, weaponizes letters to Congress to try to smear my name.
Mr. Chairman, proceed. I apologize for the disruption.
Am I supposed to say it's my time, Mr. Raskin?
Yeah.
An eyewitness with impeccable credentials, former naval officer, highly educated, multiple security clearances, legitimate businessman, Tony Bobulinski, the original whistleblower, was under oath for the first time in public. And he called the Biden family liars.
The American people must hear it. You're presented here today with two narratives in this investigation. A false one being pushed by Joe Biden, a serial liar and fabulous, now under this impeachment investigation for public corruption. It is clear to me that Joe Biden was the brand being sold by the Biden family. Joe Biden was more than a participant in and a beneficiary of his family's business. He was an active, aware enabler who met with business associates such as myself to further the business. I ask this big question. If there's no evidence of corruption here today, if Joe's conduct and the conduct of his family were fully legal and proper, then why are they so dishonest about it? Not just slight misrepresentations of fact, but deep untruths about the entire corrupt enterprise.
Bobulinski met with Joe Biden twice, confirmed he was the big guy who called the shots. Joe Biden was for sale. The family desperately needed cash. Hunter shook them down with his dad in the room, got the cash, and then cut Tony out.
Hunter Biden represents, he's a governance expert. That's why Burisma put him on the board. Well, he obviously can't do basic math. The board of Oneida Holdings had 7 votes. Each one of them, Hunter, Jim Biden, James Gillian, and Rob Walker, had a single vote. I had 3 votes. I have a master's degree in electrical and nuclear engineering. I think I can do math. I had 3, they had 4. They controlled Oneida Holdings. So Hunter Biden's representations that I was trying to take the business from them or I didn't know is all a sham and a misrepresentation. He wanted money in his account instantly, and that's why he shook down the Chinese, and they were willing to send him that $5 million because they viewed it as a bribe to the Biden family.
It wasn't just China. The Biden family was tangled up with the Russians. We know about the Russian billionaire who had dinner with Joe and Hunter, wired him millions, and then left Biden off the sanctions list. But it was much bigger than that. The Biden family was brokering Russia-Chinese energy deals right under the FBI's noses.
Chairman Yi was dropping $50 million of cash for penthouses in Manhattan. Who you should be asking all these questions are the Department of Justice, the SDNY, the FBI, because they have troves of evidence that back up what was going on. This involved the Chinese Communist Party. They were doing a transaction with Rosneft, which was a Russian-sanctioned, U.S.-sanctioned company at the time, and the Biden family was right front and center in the middle of it.
Tony B. has troves of evidence linking the Biden clan to international criminal activity. And the FBI never conducted a follow-up interview after he went public 4 years ago. The Treasury Department flagged 150 suspicious activity reports. No action. Money was flowing from the Red Chinese right to Joe Biden's personal checking account.
On August 4th, $100,000 is wired into Owasco PC from CEFC Infrastructure. On August 14th, there is $150,000 that is transferred from Owasco PC, which is controlled by Hunter Biden, to Lion Hall Group, which is controlled by James Biden. We have the deposit reference into Sarah Jones Biden's account on the same day she withdrew it from Lion Hall. On September 3rd, 2007, from Sarah Biden's own personal account, there is a check that is written to Joseph Robinette Biden, Jr., the President of the United States today, for $40,000, signed loan repayment. A loan repayment, by the way, that Joe Biden's own personal accountant, Mr. Eric Schwerin, has no record for.
You heard that right. Joe Biden's own accountant testified under oath that there was no record that this was a loan repayment. It was a bribe from China. Hunter Biden was asked during his deposition, how many times did you pay for your father's household expenses? Over 100? And Hunter Biden said, I don't know. $24 million in foreign wires to the Bidens. $1.5 million missing in cash. At least 2 missing diamonds. And the investigation just started. And it's being stonewalled at the highest levels. Democrats had a hard time facing the facts today.
Quote, 10% held by H for the big guy, question mark. You remember that, right?
The infamous email with the big guy? Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Did anyone ever respond to that email?
Yes, they did, numerous times.
Sorry.
Hunter Biden himself did.
Excuse me. You're right.
Well, no, I think that's important because
Sir,
Hunter
did
Biden
anyone
has
ever
claimed that he didn't
Can you answer my
respond to it,
questions?
and he responded to it.
Okay.
I believe
You're just going to
times.
filibuster. I reclaim my time that's running out.
We're back to a hearing where no evidence is being provided of any sort of wrongdoing by the president. But I want to go back.
That's a
Mr.
blatant lie.
Actually, it's my time, sir.
What you stated.
I did not call the
what was
FBI
stated
agents
right
liars.
before that was,
I
first
said
of all,
they misstated
I said that I'm
or made
speaking and I did not ask you a question.
So this was the first time an actual eyewitness to the Biden enterprise testified publicly. And the Democrats weren't prepared.
Did you witness the president commit a crime? Is it your testimony today?
Yes.
And what crime have you witnessed?
How much time do I have to go through it? Corruption statutes, RICO and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir?
You
specifically.
You asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
No.
RICO, you're obviously not familiar with. Corruption statutes.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. RICO is not a crime. It is a category. What is the
It's a category
crime?
of crimes.
Fannie charged Trump with RICO in Georgia, AOC. So if RICO's not a crime, I guess Trump's fine. But honestly, Biden flies his son around the world to cut deals, invites his son's partners to the White House, has phone calls and meetings with them, drops sanctions on them, greases regs for them, gets their kids into colleges, and he gets his entire extended family, from sons, brothers to grandkids, paid millions. Cars, cash, diamonds, expensive scotch. And he uses an alias. Joe Biden uses an alias. They use burner phones to talk. Biden's donors paid his family's back taxes. Could Don Jr. stiff the IRS and his dad's donors square it up before an election? Come on. Investigators have delivered eyewitness testimony, bank records, mountains of circumstantial evidence, plus motive, physical evidence, digital communications, photographs, voicemails. Jesse Jr. could prosecute this case.
Do you believe he should be impeached?
I do.
Okay, and you believe that because you believe Chairman Comer has proven that he committed a high crime and misdemeanor?
No, because I know that he committed high crimes and misdemeanors.
Okay.
I was involved and saw them happen.
The Democrats say there's no evidence. The media reports there's no evidence, and the 4-year cover-up continues. So looking at the calendar, I don't see the committee moving towards an official impeachment this year. I just don't. Personally, I believe there was sufficient evidence to start impeachment last year, but that's just me. Now the committee's up against a political clock. Summer recess, conventions, and the politicians, they have to campaign for re-elections, so they're not going to be in Washington for impeachment hearings. And then impeachment in October could be silly with weeks before an election. So the committee's going to keep grinding. We're still expecting credit card records from multiple banks, and the offshore accounts, which the IRS whistleblowers confirm exist, are being protected by the DOJ. But if Trump wins and finds Biden's offshore accounts, I don't care what Robert Hur says, you're going to see a sympathetic elderly man with a hazy memory on trial. If Biden wins re-election and the Republicans keep the House, then they'll have time for impeachment. This year, though, It's more about what the American people believe and how it impacts their vote. Everyone knows Biden's corrupt. We just have to vote him out. Let's bring in entrepreneur and the original Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. Jordan, when you watch hearings like this and see the evidence and you see the testimony and people don't buy it, what does that tell you?
It tells me that the media right now is just so utterly corrupt because, listen, I watched it. And by the way, I was laughing out loud at a lot of this stuff. Like AOC with not knowing that, RICO is a crime. That you can't make this stuff up, right? But the fact that it's being reported on mainstream media is like there's no there, nothing is happening. Is nonsensical. I mean, there's overwhelming evidence. Listen, they use words like plausible deniability. That's a cover story in layman's terms. And you don't have 27 shell accounts and money moving back and forth through all these accounts. I know a little bit, unfortunately, about money laundering, and that's exactly what you do when you launder money, right? And then it comes back, and then it eventually makes some back to President Biden. But here's the thing. Even if it doesn't go back to Biden, it's still just as much of a crime. It includes the family, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, bribery charges. If you bribe the family, it's on him. And, I just don't understand, really. It makes no sense to me how the media could be so complicit in all this. But, it makes me long for the days back when I was a kid. I thought the media was a lot fairer back then. I don't know what's happened. It's insane.
Well, you're not that old, Jordan. Don't act like that. The diamonds that are missing, the offshore accounts that are being blocked, the Porsches that are being driven home after dinners with billionaires, and the shell companies, I think they're counting 10 shell companies. This is literally how you money launder, is it not? You know about this.
Listen, there is no reason for all these different shell companies. You don't move money from, China into, the British Virgin Islands into Liechtenstein. You don't do that. There's no reason for it. From company to, if the money was legit, it would go from the company to Hunter Biden or to their holding company in the United States and be distributed accordingly. There's no other reason for that. And it's one of these cases where, in the end of the day, the cover-up is worse than the crime. It's almost like the cover-up is what gets you in trouble because it's just so guilty looking, so obvious what's going on. If they just had wired the money, they could say, well, I did consulting. Now, he didn't actually do any consulting. He didn't offer any services, so to speak. So they wouldn't have an excuse there either. But the fact that they went through all this effort to conceal, it tips their hand. You know what's going on.
And even if he was consulting, as he say he was, it's illegal. You can't do international business consulting without being registered as a foreign agent. And he was a foreign agent for his father while he was vice president.
Right. Right. I think he's safe there, Jesse, because I don't think he did any consulting. Do you think he actually did any
That
consulting?
would be the cover story. Even with the cover story, it's still illegal. Their cover story is illegal.
Exactly. That's the irony. The cover story itself is illegal. Even though the guy didn't lift his finger for anything except my daddy's president, and he can help you get things done.
No, you can't make your cover story a crime. But, hey, Hunter's the smartest guy Joe knows. He must not know a lot of people.
Exactly.
All right. Belfort.
And the most ethical.
Belfort, you know about that.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. You too, my friend. Have a good one. Fani Willis puts a witness on the stand so high he couldn't testify. President Biden's in trouble with Hispanics, and it's going to cost him the election. So he flew to a Mexican restaurant in Phoenix, but got distracted by a baby.
We have made so much progress together, but we know that there is still work to be done. And we know that, there's so much at stake and that Donald Trump continues to pose a threat.
Well, folks, I have to tell you straight up, I like y'all, but I couldn't resist that little baby.
Biden likes babies for the smell. We know. Then Biden started begging.
You're the reason why, in large part, I beat Donald Trump. I need you. I need you badly. I need the help. Kamala and I desperately need your help.
Joe needs Latinos, but do Latinos need Joe? No. Wages and housing are down, inflation and crime are up. Plus, the whole Joe Blue and the border is a slap in the face to Hispanics who waited in line. Biden's ignored them, made their lives worse, and panders like Speedy Gonzalez.
I just have one thing to say. Hang on here.
All right.
Biden wanted to swing bats at a Trump piñata, but was talked out of it by Jill, the first ever First Lady to call Hispanics tacos. So sad. Biden didn't tell Hispanics what he'd done for them. He told them the other guy called you rapists.
It's an election between me and a guy named Trump. And this is a guy whose the way he talks about the Latino community is, well, in 2016, he called Latinos criminal, drug dealers, and rapists when he came down that escalator.
This dirty defamation's cliche, sloppy, doesn't stick. The election isn't about identity and insults. It's about action and results. Spanish Democrats aren't even delivering. AOC's Queens district's in shambles thanks to the migrant crisis. Trash, illegal street vendors, hookers litter the block. And her constituents feel swindled.
She is never here. I was a volunteer for her. She completely abandoned our community. She said she only cares about Washington and her money. She said nobody loves her here anymore. She abandoned us.
Our neighborhoods were invaded and Democrats tie ICE agents' hands. Bill Malugin did a ride-along in L.A. Watch.
Due to sanctuary policies, unfortunately, our detainers are not being honored. It is frustrating.
Do you guys have any presence at the jail whatsoever?
No.
And ICE blames those sanctuary policies for having to arrest this third felon of the day. He was previously convicted of trafficking meth and being a felon in possession of a gun. And ICE says he was released without notice after local authorities ignored their request to hold him. Sanctuary policy?
Sanctuary policy, detainer not honored.
Joe's bleeding Hispanics. Some would call it a bloodbath. They hate how he handles every issue. 70% of Hispanics hate Biden's immigration policy. They hate his economic policy. They're just like us. And that's the point. We all want the same things that Joe can't deliver. Trump's pitch is simple.
Hispanics, very entrepreneurial people. Yeah. They like me, I like them. I mean, I'm leading all along Texas and the Texas.
And kind of family values as well, perhaps quite important.
I think there's family values.
Christianity quite important in that community.
I think so. All of the things. Look, we're doing so well. Nobody's ever done well with the Hispanics like I've done.
Opening up the border to criminals and leeches drives Hispanics and everybody else crazy. Here's the Venezuelan welfare king gobbling up handouts and hacking the system.
To all those women that find themselves pregnant and are in Latin America, please come have your baby in the United States. And if you get married, you'll get more back in taxes. And, well, if you have 5 or 6 children, can you imagine? My daughter is American and she gave me citizenship. She pays our rent. She pays our bills. She gives us $1,500 a month since she was born. I have 6 months in the USA and I have everything you don't have. Citizenship, residency, a good car, and a good apartment.
Oh, but it doesn't stop there. The Venezuelan welfare king encouraging illegals to invade American homes and squat.
Mi gente! My people, I have thought about invading a house in the United States because I learned there's a law that says if a house is not inhabited, we can expropriate it. I think that will be my next business. Invade abandoned houses.
Biden's letting migrants break into the country and then break into your bedroom. And a judge just ruled illegals can own guns. Well, as Jill Biden calls them, fully loaded tacos. Former Huntington Beach mayor and UFC world champ Tito Ortiz joins me now. Tito, what do you think of the Biden pitch to Hispanics?
Pandering at its worst. It's pretty embarrassing what they're trying to do. I've watched this over the last 3.5 years, and it's just how much more can our country take before people stand up? And on all the Latino friends that I have, everybody that has been waiting in line to get across the border, it's no longer Mexicans that are trying to get across the border. It's everybody from every other country. And it's just, I feel bad for our country right now. People need to stand up and make their vote be heard. If their votes aren't going to be heard, I don't know what's going to happen next for our country. And it's really hard for me because being a blue-collared man with 3 boys and the future of them, I got to make sure I stand up and let my voice be heard. That's why I'm on here with you, Jesse, and thank you for letting me to be on with you tonight.
Of course, Tito. We're always welcome on Jesse Watters Primetime. You just heard President Donald Trump, former president, spell out the entrepreneurial pitch. I'm a businessman. I was good for business in my 4 years. Is that sticking?
Well, you know, I think it really comes down to the things that when I lived in Huntington Beach, California, I had 5 businesses. You got to understand, I've known Donald Trump since 2000. I fought his casino at the Trump Taj Mahal. I worked on The Celebrity Apprentice with him. And to see what type of businessman he was, what type of father he was, what type of patriot he is for this country, for a billionaire to step up for this country and willing to risk everything to protect this country, my hat's off to him. And I will support him till he's no longer around. And that's the way I feel. But I think there's a lot of Latinos that feel the same way because they come to this country to make sure that we have our faith, we have our family, and we have our freedoms. These are the things that this country that cannot lose. If we lose that, there's no turning back. And people need to understand that now. This is our time to take back America because we cannot lose it. For the future of our children, for all the future of everybody that does want to come across the border legally. Because it's, once again, it's not just Mexicans that are coming across the border. People don't understand that. There's children trafficking. There's drugs that are coming across. All the cartel are doing the things that American people don't like. And you can see all across the border in Texas, Arizona, California. It's shambles of what the Border Patrol can't take care of. And it's because of the legislative and the policies that the Biden regime is doing right now. And it's sad for this country. And I hope people listen to me as a blue-collared man that has to relocate here in Florida, open my own business, Tito's Cantina, Tequila Bar and Grill, here in Cape Coral, to redo the American dream. Because I lost everything after 2020. And it's hard for me because I'm still trying to take care of my children as a blue-collared man. So for me, speaking to the public, speaking to everybody here on Fox News, and Jesse Watters, thank you very much for having me on here. But at the same time, people, we need to come together. We need to make sure that we make America great again because it's very, very important.
Tito's Cantina, what would happen if that Venezuelan migrant broke into that place and squatted and thought it was his own?
Well, I'm very thankful for Sheriff Carmine here in Lee County. There's law and order here. There's law and order in this city. There's law and order in this county. There's law and order in this state. Thanks to Ron DeSantis. You know, another thing is the school situation here. There's no woke agenda here in Florida. It's wonderful. I love it. I'm thankful for the politicians who have stepped up to protect this state. And I wish other states would step up and do the same thing, too. And I believe other states do. But at the same time, all the sanctuary states, they need to understand because I see a lot of people that come down from up north, down here to Florida to get away from that. And they're like, Tito, we're losing our cities. We're losing our state. And I'm like, you guys need to vote the right way. Instead of running away from it, as I had no choice because when I was on city council, when I was mayor pro tem, they were destroying me. And once again, I'm a blue-collar guy. I'm not a billionaire. I can't take care of my country for the rest of my life. I can't lose everything. And they were trying to destroy my name when I was on city council. So that's why I walked away. That's why I stepped away.
All right.
I want to give the future of my children a great future, and that's why I'm here in Florida doing this.
Well, that's great. You're making a good case, and if you make that case even more, I'm going to have to just sell my house in New Jersey and move to Florida. Tito Ortiz, great to have you on.
Let me tell you, the inflation is killing us right now, and this is something that's really important. As being a restaurant owner, yep.
Tito's Cantina.
Please, people.
Everybody check it out and go get a drink and a nice hot meal. Thanks, Tito. Kavanaugh's accuser, Christine Blasey Ford, is getting rehabbed, and we know why. It marks 4 years since the COVID pandemic officially started in the United States. Everyone I know moved on from COVID a long time ago. Sometimes I reach into like an old winter jacket pocket and find an old mask. I lived in Manhattan, and I'm like, whoa, oh yeah, COVID. But I don't think about vaccines or social distancing anymore. Nobody does, I thought, until I saw this. A new poll shows only 41% of Democrats think the pandemic is over. Just 41% think COVID is over. These are the same people that still think Trump colluded with Russia, so it's kind of hard to break through to them. And if you don't wear a mask, they'll never talk to you again.
A few weeks ago, I found out that the person that I love most in this world is no longer masking. Not masking is wild behavior to me. Like, community care is important to me. I need to know that the people in my life care about their health and the health of the people around them. The best thing for me right now is to take a step away from this relationship. I can't have people in my life that make me feel unsafe. And they live on the other coast, but that's not the point.
Live on the other coast? Wait, her long-term boyfriend who lives across the country, she's no longer friends with him because he won't wear a mask outside? Fauci fried her brain. Last week, the squad celebrated Long COVID Awareness Day. Long COVID is when people claim they're still sick for weeks, months, and maybe even years, even though their tests come up negative. There's just one problem. Long COVID isn't real. A study of thousands of cases conducted by the Aussies determined there's no such thing as long COVID. It's just a figment of Fauci's imagination. Tommy Laren's an Outkick host. Tommy, I'm worried about this woman. What should we do with her?
Well, there is a 10 out of 10 chance her boyfriend probably doesn't exist anyway, so there's that. But I'll also say, while long COVID might be a myth and that it's COVID, it could actually just be liberalism, which is the most terrifying disease of all. It's still impacting so many Democrats. But I got to say, Jesse, I don't mind if some of the liberals on the fringe still want to wear the masks, the face diapers, as I call them, because it allows me to spot liberals very easily and to steer clear. That and the septum piercings, the green hair, I mean, those are telltale signs that you're dealing with a liberal. So they can wear 1, 2, 3, 4 masks for all I care. It's just sad to me that they still want to live in this world. But I guess if that makes them happy to live in a social media world on the couch ordering Uber Eats and not interacting with people, maybe that's better for all of us.
I love the mask and the face shield combo. That's always a dead giveaway. Tommy, I want to show you some video. There's a woman that you haven't seen in a while. Maybe like COVID, she's been missing for quite some time. Christine Blasey Ford, I don't know if everybody remembers, she accused Kavanaugh without any evidence of sexually assaulting her or jumping on her in a bed in high school at a party that she couldn't prove that she went to. Now she's being rehabbed everywhere, especially on The View. Watch.
I applaud you on your courage and your bravery. To face those people, the way they were looking and dealing with you, that is bravery under a whole different kind of fire.
Do you have any regrets? Would you do it all the same again?
I would definitely do it again. It was the worst thing ever.
I watched while people were clapping. Some of the men did not clap in this audience.
Ooh, men weren't clapping for her. She didn't have any evidence, alibi, anything. Why is she back now, Tommy?
I'm also just still really put off by the fact that there are men that actually go and watch The View in general. But that aside, listen, this woman, it's amazing that they're trotting her back out. Of course, she's got a book to sell. I also am happy that she was able to make it to New York because if I remember correctly, Jesse, she had a fear of flying. She had claustrophobia way back when. So glad to see she's over that now, that she has a book to push. But this is bigger than that. This is her 2.0 because the Democrats are still pushing this democracy's on the ballot, moral standards are on the ballot. They need to trot her out. They need to remind folks, if Trump is reelected, he could put someone like Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court again. We cannot let that happen. They'll also use as an excuse to pack the Supreme Court. So this is trotting her back out. Also remembering Kamala Harris's big moment, of course, one of her only shining moments in this whole Kavanaugh debacle. So this is shameless book promotion for her. But for the left, this is trotting out their unicorn once again to go after Donald Trump, his Supreme Court, because they have nothing else to run on, so she's back.
Yeah, they're probably trying to get in Kavanaugh's head, you're right, because he's got a lot of Trump court cases on the docket. Tommy Laren, who knew you were so funny? Thanks, Tommy.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Get it together. On sale now. Forget about Christine Blasey Ford's book.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh YouTube của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn móc phần đầu của chú ếch như thế này. Nguyên liệu cần chuẩn bị gồm có sợi màu xanh lá đậm để móc phần đầu, sợi màu trắng để móc phần mắt. Đối với phần mắt, mình sử dụng thêm mắt thú bông bằng nhựa có kích thước 6mm. Tiếp đến sử dụng sợi màu đỏ để móc phần má hồng, kim khâu len và sợi màu đen để thêu phần miệng, bông gòn để nhồi vào phía bên trong phần đầu, kim móc phù hợp với kích thước sợi. Mình sử dụng keo nến để gắn các chi tiết như là mắt và má hồng vào phần đầu. Nếu các bạn yêu thích video, hãy nhớ nhấn vào nút đăng ký kênh, like, share video để ủng hộ mình ra nhiều video hơn nữa nha. Và sau đây, hãy cùng mình theo dõi phần hướng dẫn chi tiết. Sử dụng sợi màu xanh đậm, tạo vòng tròn ma thuật. Móc 6 mũi đơn vào vòng tròn ma thuật. Hàng thứ hai, móc 6 lần 2 mũi đơn vào chung một chân. Hàng thứ ba, chân đầu tiên móc 1 mũi đơn, chân thứ hai móc 2 mũi đơn vào chung một chân. Lặp lại như vậy cho đến hết hàng.